Alright guys, Hayzink here, welcome back. So, in this video I'm going to be very respectful and I'm going to highlight another creator. I really like this guy, The One he's called. I'm going to link the video that I'm talking about down below. Go and watch it, right? Because he took the time to share his point of view about why he really doesn't think that one thing that I said in the last video was I was coming at it from the wrong angle. So I want to take the time to really break down the one key message that has been taken from that video and expand upon what I meant, why I meant it, and maybe it will bring a little bit more enlightenment onto why I said what I said, and maybe it'll make you think differently. I don't know. So if you've not checked out The One, go and check him out. He's a growing channel. Subs help everyone at this game. In this game, try and get the guy to 1,000 subs. If we can do that, it means that the guy can start making some money off YouTube and stuff like that. It's nice to help people when you can. So link to his video down below, link to his channel, check him out, like, sub, do all that type of stuff. But basically, he made a response video to the end of service worries video that I put out, right? And in that video, obviously I talked over various different points, right? And the main takeaway from his video that I got when I watched his response was really there was only really one point that he didn't agree with. The other points he did agree with, right? So I don't really feel the need for me to expand upon those, but I'll just very quickly say that, again, if you worry about the longevity of games, then don't be spending in them because you've got no guarantees. They don't come with a length of service promise or anything like that. If you can spend money, enjoy it on the day, spend money. If you need some guarantee of 6 months, 2 years, whatever, then don't spend money. Simple as that. Universal takeaway, every gacha, run with that and you'll have a happier time, right? But going back to, I guess, what really was the crux of the whole discussion was essentially bulk trends. See, bulk trend are relevant. I'll explain when we get a bit further forward, right? Crunchyroll, putting Crunchyroll and bulk trend into the same sentence. I've not started this video off well, right? But taking the situation and how their past histories can affect your confidence moving forward, right? So allow me to use bulk trend as an example, okay? Now, the reason I'm doing this is because actually there is a fair bit of correlation between the two. So Disgaea RPG is going to be the predominant thing that I use as an example here, okay? Bulk Trend, when they were the publisher for Disgaea RPG, they were little known, shall we say. They didn't really have much under their belt. They were fairly new, and it may have been their first global gacha. I think it was, possibly. So anyway, people were surprised that they got Disgaea RPG, okay? Now, through my extensive dealings with bulk trend, I noticed a lot of things. And the things that I noticed was that bulk trend was severely hamstrung by the deal that they struck, right? I've never ever found out the exact inner workings of it, okay? However, I was able to glean certain things that take this with a touch of assumption, right? But just based on interactions, based on things said, based on how they done things, I know the kind of deal they had, right? The kind of deal they had struck was very weighted in favour of the initial publisher, right? They had monthly check-ins, they had to run everything by the initial publisher. The initial publisher had final say on pretty much everything that happened, okay? They were doing some kind of revenue splitting with the original publisher. However, all the cost was on bulk trend's end. So if you look at something like Disgaea RPG, right, just as an example, let's say, I'm going to be generous here because I don't think it was this much. Let's say it was a 50-50 split, right? So all revenue that was made, 50% went to Forwardworks, 50% stayed with bulk trend, right? Off of bulk trend's 50%, they had to pay server costs, they had to pay staff, they had to pay licensing agreements for upcoming things like collabs and stuff. They weren't included in the initial costs. So if you were to take the average of cost outlay, server outlay, paying for customer services, all that type of stuff, their 50% would have been degraded to possibly 25-30%, right? So that wasn't a good deal. But they would have taken that deal to establish themselves, or at least hope they were going to establish themselves as a global publisher, right? Early on, they did that a lot. They did that a lot. That's why all their games shut, right? Their games didn't shut because Bulk Trend decided, oh, to hell with this, whatever. They weren't making enough money. It was a bad deal. They wanted to get out of the deal, right? Simple as that. Now, I know that's not great for the players, and it's not good. Like, it's not a good thing. But until they established themselves as more of a publishing powerhouse, they weren't going to get those good deals. So they had to keep taking them. And that is how their games all would fall one by one. But the aim for Bulk Trend anyway was, let's grow what we do, and then when we go to another franchise, we will be able to establish it. Then we can start getting better deals, okay? Best example of this is a YouTuber, me. I've only just the other day been reached out to for a sponsorship. I'm probably not going to take it because I hate negotiating. But it's the same thing. They come to me, they'll say, Hayzink, you've got this. What have you done before? If I say nothing, they'll offer me like $50, right? Once I've done that and I can show that I've done well, the next person that comes to me, they'll say, have you ever done this before? I'll say, yes. What did you do? I'll show them. They'll look at my track record and they'll go, okay, well, we'll give you $200. And then I grow it from there, right? So take that scenario and put it onto a publisher, right? They need to show that they've made something work, right? And then they can get better deals. The thing that people don't realise is Princess Connect, I think, was one of their earlier games. So, I mean, Crunchyroll, while Crunchyroll itself is a big name, Crunchyroll Games isn't. People also forget is Crunchyroll, within the last 2 years, became part of the Sony group. So Crunchyroll now is a bigger, more respected company. When it comes to negotiating and stuff like that, Crunchyroll now has more weight than they previously had. So when I say you can't necessarily judge a game by other games' past reputation, right? The reason I say that is because we as consumers are absolutely entitled to be worried about these things, okay? However, we don't actually know what went on behind the scenes to cause the closure of those things, right? Now, I've got no inside information. I don't know that this is the case, but Crunchyroll could literally be or have been in a Bulk Trend scenario because people say Princess Connect was performing well. Why did it close? Well, the Sky RPG was performing relatively well for its size, its cost and stuff like that. But if the publisher hadn't agreed to a good deal initially, then it could literally be a carbon copy of the Bulk Trend scenario where, despite on paper revenue looking good, stuff like that, the actual deal that they signed might have meant that they weren't doing so well from it. Right now, I know to you as a player that probably doesn't matter, but ultimately businesses are businesses and they've got to be profitable, right? That's just how it is, guys. Facts are facts, right? And if a game's literally just ticking over and it's not doing anything to make a company money, and it's not worth them continuing with. And it makes more sense for them to cut their losses on one thing, to put more focus on something else which is going to be easier to manage, more profitable. And I hate to say it, if the game's more profitable to the company on a percentage basis, it doesn't actually need to be as profitable in the charts because they can technically make more money off less sales because they get a bigger cut of the pie. Right? Now, again, to be clear, I have no inside information whatsoever about Crunchyroll's dealings, right? But all I do know is when it comes to the game publishing space, they're not as old as some people might think they are, right? They've done a lot of deals in a short-term period, and a lot of their behaviours kind of mimic Bulk Trend. The one big difference between Bulk Trend and Crunchyroll is Bulk Trend, all it takes is one or two big failures to tank that company. And that's probably what's going to happen after the Sky RPG, right? Nobody's ever going to put faith in them again. Crunchyroll have money. They've got Sony money. Facts are, they've got Sony money. So a few disasters is not going to tank the company. They can afford to do things like advertising revenue, budgets, push out, get new players, all that stuff, right? So when I say that one game closing doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly what's going to happen to all the games from that company moving forward. It's true, right? And the things I said about if this type of stuff worries you, the best thing you could do is not spend money, right? That's also true. All I'm saying is you can't always make the logic leap of game A failed, so that means game B is going to fail, because it's not how it works. Again, these things are really nuanced. We as consumers don't get to see all the levels of it. The only reason that I've even got the bit of knowledge that I've got surrounding this is because of the collapse of Disgaea RPG. I suspected for well over a year and a half that they had basically got the shitty end of a stick when it came to the publishing deal. They every month had to literally get Forwardworks in Japan to simply approve the roadmap of content. Now the content was laid out, it literally linearly followed Japan, so we knew what was coming. But they could not officially tell us each month until Bolt Trend of Japan, Forwardworks of Japan confirmed that yes, you can roll out this roadmap. They done things like battle passes where they would give away a unit when you bought the battle pass. They couldn't choose the unit they wanted to put in there. They had to go to Forwardworks and ask Forwardworks for permission. Can we do this? A normal publishing deal, you wouldn't need to do that. You wouldn't need to, because you'd have more control. When stuff like that's having to happen, immediately it becomes apparent that the publisher has ceded all form of control over that deal, right? Again, I'm not saying this is what it is, I'm simply showing you a scenario where this is played out. That could literally be what Crunchyroll did with their initial deals, because they had not got a track record. They go to games developers and say, we want to publish your game. They can't say, look at what we did to this game, that game, that game, that game. Their biggest bargaining chip would be, we'll do that for this cost, that cost. Money talks, and a lot of these companies will take the money over the proven track record. And again, that could have been what it is. And now with the fact that Crunchyroll's part of the Sony group, Sony are going to want to improve that reputation, not degrade it. Sony also are quite tight with Capcom, to be honest. Street Fighter 5 was, I think it was partially funded by Sony. I know it was PlayStation exclusive, but I actually think Sony had something to do with the development side of it as well. Capcom and Sony are tight. They're absolutely tight. Capcom is also fiercely protective of its IP. Capcom is not going to allow this game to drag the Street Fighter name through the mud. Crunchyroll are aware of that. They don't want their name to continue to be dragged through the mud. So, while it might not seem like it now, honestly, this is not copium. This is me literally being objective. Street Fighter could potentially be the big break title for Crunchyroll as a publisher. Because if this does well, they can go to the bargaining table in future and be like, here you go, this is what we can do, this is how much we'll spend on advertising, this is how much we'll do this, blah blah blah, and this is what we've done for Street Fighter. Whereas previously, it was a case of, we make anime shows, and we upload anime online for a subscription fee. Yeah, what's that got to do with gaming? We'll only take 20%. Something like that. I'm not saying that's what happened again, but when I look at the track record, when I look at how they've taken games that performed actually fairly well on paper, according to Sensor Tower and stuff like that, and then they canned them, it really does mirror the Crunchyroll, the Bolt Trend formula. So I personally feel that's maybe what's happened here with Princess Connect and stuff like that. I know people are upset. I get it, 100% get it, because like, here, I'll be honest with you, if Bolt Trend put out a new game tomorrow, I'd be like, ooh, we don't want to touch that. Like, I get it, totally get it, right? Fully understand it. The only thing I'm saying is, there is differences in the two scenarios, and ultimately the difference is, one company has got no financial clout behind them, Bolt Trend. The other company has got huge financial clout behind them, Crunchyroll, Sony. That's why I feel like the scenarios could be different here. Also, the relationship with Sony and Capcom, there's a lot of nuance to this, and that's why I feel like Street Fighter, well, I can't guarantee its safety because no one can. I feel like you can't necessarily immediately launch to, is this game going to close? And again, I feel like if you are a player who worries about these things, then literally your best course of action is to go free to play. That is it. If you go free to play, and even if a game closes, all you're going to lose is not even time, because if you had fun, you're not losing that time, right? You're not going to win top ranks or whatever, because people who spend will probably do that. But as long as you have fun, that is the most important takeaway. There's always going to be people that spend, so don't worry about, oh, if you're saying to people don't spend, the game will close because it will have low revenue. No chance. Whales are whales. Whales are going to spend, right? It's going to happen. So you don't necessarily need to spend to keep this game alive. You can just have fun, right? So, the one, Escanor. Mate, I appreciate you taking the time to respond. I hope that me breaking this down, probably in more detail than I needed to, but I feel like it's important because sometimes people can take words at face value. I've got ADHD, and in my head, I feel like what I'm explaining is getting out there my total view of how I feel, but I keep forgetting, unless I actually explain to people why I think a certain way, they don't have the, I want to call it insider knowledge to a certain degree that I've got into situations like this, so they won't necessarily understand where I'm coming from, right? So hopefully me taking the time to speak directly, because I don't think I could have got this across in a text message, okay? Hopefully me taking the time to express that to you makes you understand why that whole section at the start of the video was relevant. Again, if you want to hate on Crunchyroll, do it. It's not my business to protect them. I don't care. They're not. I don't work for them. But all I'm saying is, I feel like the company that signed that deal a couple of years ago is different from the company now because of ownership, leadership, that type of stuff. And we've got no way of knowing for sure, but I feel like their bargaining position is going to be stronger now than it was then. And for all we know, they've got better deals, and these games going forward could have more of a lifespan and could do better. And what you're seeing is them trimming the fat of the ones that maybe necessarily weren't going to line their pockets, which you can call greedy, it's up to you. But from a business standpoint, it makes sense, and it actually gives us more hope that something like Street Fighter will go on and last longer. Anyway, that's my thought process. That's why I said what I said. I've now explained what I said. Hopefully you can see the logic in what I've said. Again, speculation. Fully, completely understand the fact that it's speculation. But you can base your decision making on your own thoughts. And my decision making is based on my experience of dealing with companies like this, and obviously what I'm now seeing. I'm not worried about Princess Connect closing. I'm really not. I think potentially Street Fighter's got far more growth potential because, honestly guys, if you don't realise this now, it's such a huge IP. It is such a huge IP. It's well loved. It's massive. It's massive. But anyway, let's see how it goes, right? Again, if you worry about this stuff, go free to play. If you don't care and you enjoy money when you spend it, go pay to win. If you are someone who literally puts playing these games before buying things that you need, seek help. Seriously, I'm not even saying that as a joke, seek help, because these games can cause problems. They can affect your mental health, they can affect your relationships, you can be spending money your partner doesn't know about, all that type of stuff. It's very easy to do, so if that's you, not even flippantly, speak to someone, like talk it out. Maybe these games aren't for you, you know, they're really not for everyone, but try and go free to play. I say that to everyone, try. There's no benefit to racing ahead. I use the excuse of content, but realistically, just do it. Anyway, Hayzink, see you.